Westworld could have had a final season with a reduced budget, but HBO said no, making TV shows cost a lot of money. Some of them bring in returns quickly, while others grow at a slow but steady pace. Although it may not have been the most popular television show, the cancellation of the final season of Westworld has left many fans questioning whether HBO could have continued the series on a reduced budget. However, the network has decided against this option. Stay tuned to learn more about this development. What you need to know. The Warner Brothers and Discovery merger that took place earlier this year resulted in the formation of a new company, Warner Brothers Discovery, which David Zaslav now leads. And as you will expect with media and film company mergers, many tables will be shaken in terms of long-term production plans and financial overviews. That being said, canceling projects and writing off the money they'd already spent on them to gain tax savings is one option for Zaslav and the company to reduce expenses and pay off obligations at the moment. Another option for making such gains is to put certain projects on FAST, free ad-supported streaming television. And while there won't be a new season of Westworld on HBO, the show will be moving to the FAST platform along other shows like The Nevers, F-Boy Island, Legendary, The Time Traveler's Wife, and Raised by Wolves, all thanks to Warner Brothers Discovery. Many fans would have hoped that instead of a cancellation of the show and the final season produced, unfortunately Zaslav and HBO weren't interested in this prospect. The only way to catch up on these series is on the FAST channels unless you own a copy of the home video. How this impacts the shows HBO decides to make in the future is unclear, but if Warner Brothers Discovery can easily cancel expensive fantasy and sci-fi projects, I can only assume HBO will be less willing to invest in such projects in the future. This is how Westworld should have ended. David Zaslav's cost-cutting blitz at HBO resulted in the demise of Westworld, but the show's ambiguous conclusion left viewers with too many questions unanswered. Caleb Nichols and Maeve Millay rode off the welcome train into a setting that was a pretty close copy of the original park as the show's endless story, twists, and multiple realities finally came together in a knotted ball of yarn near where they started. Considering Zaslav's sickle-swinging fervor and the show's Hoover Dam-sized budget, the repeated finale is probably just a handy escape for writers Lisa Joy and Jonathan Nolan. While we may never learn what Joy and Nolan had in mind for the ultimate fate of Dolores and William, after the intricate web they wove throughout the series, the season 4 setup deserves a more satisfying conclusion than back to the beginning we go. To witness what a satisfactory conclusion to Westworld could and should have looked like, grab your black or white hat and come along for one last ride into the park with us. Throughout the later seasons of Westworld, William's demise became the show's central plot point. From a young William's naive romantic pursuit of Dolores to his violent pursuit of retribution on both the park's hosts and the outside world, Westworld's looping plot arc begins with a can rolling along a dusty road and ends with him offering it back to Dolores. He has no compassion and relentlessly seeks wealth in the outside world while futilely trying to find his way out of the maze in the park. He eventually turns his back on his own daughter Emily, who also succumbs to the park's allure and dies a semi-accidental death at his hands. Though the show started as the story of William and Dolores, Charlotte Hale and Maeve eventually took over to make the park and the outside world reflect their ideals. A clear loser in the show's final season is William, who failed to save his family and murdered himself so many times that he doesn't recognize his own face. The story became about William's spiral into madness when he was unable to win Dolores' heart by charm or violence, and this path he takes ends up being fatal for both his wife and daughter. Westworld wasted some of its most intriguing actors. Ash, played by Lena Waithe, and Giggles, played by Marshawn Lynch, who added some much-needed irreverent humor to the meandering disaster that was season 3, were perhaps the two characters done dirtiest by their unrealized storyline potential. Season 5 of Westworld would have improved greatly if Ash and Giggles had been reinstated and given expanded roles. One of the show's major flaws was that death was too easy to come by, yet this could have been a strength had HBO decided to renew the show for a 5th season. Aurora Perrineau's character had no identity of her own as an adult beyond Resistance member number 2 and was significant primarily as Caleb's cornerstone. On the other hand, Aaron Paul was told to wheeze practically all of his lines out through a terrible grimace for some reason we'll never understand. Season 5 of Westworld could have potentially focused more on the Resistance group, with the possibility of them reuniting with a revived Caleb and their former allies. Bernard and Ford deserved to team up again. Immortality would have been as easy as generating a new body and inserting a new brain ball if every living being could be reduced to code and saved on a server somewhere. That provides room for the eventual reappearance of Caleb, Teddy, Dolores, Maeve, and William, all of whom we know have recorded their data and cloned many times over. Bernard could bring William back from the dead and offer him a second opportunity at life, perhaps focusing less on the violent pleasures that lead to his numerous violent deaths. The show would have been considerably different with a white hat William before the bottom line obsessed suits at Warner Discovery abruptly canceled it. The creators of Westworld might use this development of the character to move the series toward a future in which humans and hosts learn from their interactions and find common ground. Getting back to the parts' origins with Anthony Hopkins, Dr. Robert Ford, and Bernard would be a great way to wrap things off for viewers. In the first season, Hopkins was a main character but was rarely seen again. Also, the implications made in that season that Ford's deployment of the Reveries is what threw Dolores and Maeve off their programming and caused the deadly host revolution was never followed up on. Westworld's cast became iconic in pop culture. Possible ways for Westworld to end on a high note involve Ford and Bernard's divergent views on the park, such as a battle between Ford and Park's visionary genius and Bernard, its longtime manager, who has seen it all. Perhaps they could join forces to build a world where humans are seen as potential allies rather than foes. But this would require a 180-degree turn from Westworld's implied message that humans are bloodthirsty, irredeemable monsters who will destroy whatever world they're allowed to enter. If Westworld taught us anything, the human mind will always go for the black hat, whether in its natural state or after being transferred into the superior species. With Warner Discovery's recent decision to pull Westworld from HBO Max in favor of a yet-to-be-announced free ad-supported platform, it now appears that the show's story will only endure in the hearts and minds of its fans and their tremendous legacy left behind by its amazing cast and their 54 Emmy nominations and 9 wins. William managed to destroy not one but 2 universes thanks to his pride. Most of the series' events can be linked back to William's first visit to the park and his failure to understand and react to the one initial bittering moment in any way resembling a rational or healthy manner. The fact that he's known as the Man in Black hints at his status as Westworld's antagonist. Yet a conventional Western also requires a hero. The same could have been said for Dolores, the mistreated and tormented woman, if she hadn't become as vengeful and vicious as William, in certain timelines at least. Caleb is portrayed as a hero in season 3 and 4, at least in the eyes of Maeve and Dolores and the other humans, but Charlotte Hale kills him after making contact with his daughter Frankie from the future. The long and narrow alley that Lisa Joy and Jonathan Nolan drove Westworld into presents a significant obstacle to anyone attempting to write a logical and satisfying ending of the show. Neither humans nor the hosts appear to have a compass that can lead them to a life that has significance and peace, as too many key personalities are dead or have been abandoned. Season 4 saw Teddy Flood, who had previously shown enough agency to break his own programming loop, reduced to an expositional narrator. The showdown between him and William, which had been building throughout the series, never even materialized. Teddy versus William is a far simpler foundation than the one Westworld was built on. William and Teddy squaring off at 20 yards for Dolores' robot hand would be a primitive and stereotype, but at least it would give viewers something to think about as the show ended. Clementine, Frankie, and Stubbs were just a few of the characters whose storylines were abruptly redirected. Even Bernard, who went back in time to try to find a way to save the world, came away empty-handed. And he seems to be the only one left with the means to lead humans and hosts to a harmonious existence. Where can you watch Westworld? Now that you know Westworld Season 5 will never happen and that all the plots for Season 1 will never have a proper resolution, all you can do is enjoy what's left of the show. That's if you've not seen it at all. Westworld is an HBO series, so you won't find it on Netflix. To catch the show from seasons 1 to 4, you can find it on HBO Max, Hulu, and Amazon Prime Video. So guys, how sad is it that HBO and Warner Discovery scrapped this season finale of Westworld? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and sharing it with your friends. To stay updated with more interesting content like this, be sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you at the next one.